Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to talk to y'all today about gratitude practice. I know that you've probably heard this 100,000 times till you're literally like, Madison, I cannot listen to you talk about this anymore, but it has been the bedrock for all that I do for the last almost like 3.5, going on 4 years now. It has kept me grounded. It has kept me sane. I always say it makes the good days great and the bad days bearable. And I just wanted to create this video. My intention behind it is to give you the tools and the tactical tips, tricks, and takeaways so that you can feel empowered to go and do this on your own. Because I know so much of this is just like, you got to do it. And sometimes when we don't feel like we're equipped with the tools, or we really just don't know how or where to start or like what it's supposed to look like, we get stuck in the analysis paralysis of it and then we never end up doing it. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to talk all about it. I have even brought some of my own gratitude practices along, what these look like, colored pens, like the whole enchilada. Is that how they say it? Maybe. Okay. So, first things first, a grateful heart is a magnet for miracles. That is a Gabby Bernstein quote that I have held close to my heart forever. When you start a day with gratitude, you are already starting at a different vibration than if you would without it. You are almost putting on spiritual armor to head out into whatever your day has in store for you. It is the practice that kind of settles you and grounds you and gives you, like I said, like that spiritual armor so that maybe things that would normally kind of piss you off or affect you don't really bother you as much anymore. I think you're just like not swayed. You're not moved by what might be going on around you or the circumstances because you're so like, that's the only like from within. And even just like, and when you start from that place in the day, you'll see how each and every day that you walk out into, the trajectory of it will change just because you're starting from a very different place of like, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my mom. I'm grateful for my dad. I'm grateful for the beautiful apartment I live in. I'm grateful for the job I have that provides a live-in for myself and my family. I'm grateful for the opportunity, you catch my drift here, versus waking up and immediately being in a funk or being like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. I don't feel good. And you'd be surprised, but I feel like the age-old saying goes, where your mind goes, your energy flows. So if my mind is going to the Badlands and focusing on all like the negative crap that's going on in my life, and granted, it might be very valid. I'm not invalidating how you feel or what might be going on, but more of that comes when we focus on that versus when we focus on the good. And I know that can be extremely challenging depending on what is going on in your life. But when we focus on the good gets better. I promise you that. So let's get into it. When you first wake up in the morning, write down 5 things you're grateful for. That's just 5. And I personally like to keep them in the present. So I like to call upon what happened in the day before and bring it to light in the new day. So whether that's I had a great call with one of my best friends from college. I saw a really cute puppy on the sidewalk, like all these things. Like I'm grateful for neighborhood walks and running into strangers with puppies. I'm grateful for long talks on the phone with friends from college. I'm grateful for like literally just go on and on about whatever the day was before. That's what I really like to do. That's where I like to stay in the present. It's also really nice to flip back sometimes and just see where you were in your life and what was going on and what was kind of like resonating for you then. And on the days where it's a little more challenging or you really can't draw up, well, you know, yesterday was literally awful. Like everything that went wrong could have went wrong. Then I go broader. So I think of those really broad overarching things that might just seem like, you know, givens in everyday life. It might seem like almost just bare minimum of survival. And that always helps me kind of bring it back. When I go broad, go big, go broad, and then I can bring it back to where I am now. So that can look like I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for the ability to hold my pen and even write this. I'm grateful, and it sounds so silly, but like when you really start to dig into that, I'm grateful I woke up this morning. Like, how many of us wake up and we're like, wait a minute, I don't even think about that. I don't even think about waking up. It's just a given. I think about the air I breathe, waking up in the morning, things that we more or less take for granted. You know, I don't really second guess that right now in my everyday life. And that might not even be your experience out there. You might have an experience where maybe that wasn't a given in your life. And oh my gosh, what a blessing it is. So just try to keep it in the present, but do not dog yourself or berate yourself if you're not pulling from the present moment, or you're feeling down, or you're feeling not very into it. Because not every day we're going to wake up and be like, go get them, yeehaw. So just remember that you can either keep it in the now, or if you're having a lot of trouble keeping it in the now, go super broad. Go to like what you think is a given, but is really a massive blessing day in and day out in your life. The second thing you're going to do when it comes to your gratitude practice is write down 5 to 10 goals that you are going to make happen. And here's the catch: in the next 3 to 6 months. I call this dream casting, and dream casting because you are going to write it in the past tense. You're like, Madison, why am I going to write these goals in the past tense as though I've already achieved them? And it's because that is going to make your brain, it's going to tripwire your brain, hardwire your brain differently to start thinking that it is already yours. This is a fun manifestation tip when it comes to your goals and your dreams. Dream casting. You're making it seem as though it has already happened, and that is the tense that you will write it in. For instance, if you were going to write in your journal, I will run a marathon, you're going to write, I have run the Boston Marathon, or I ran the Boston Marathon. See that wordsmithing there? Or I want to start a gratitude practice. I have an amazing gratitude practice. I am in the middle of an amazing gratitude practice. My gratitude practice is already a fundamental part of my everyday life. Something along those lines. And I use that word wordsmithing just then because when you first start to write down these goals, you're not going to get it right out the gate. You might fumble on your words, you might write it down and be like, ugh, that doesn't even sound good. And sometimes myself, I literally write it down on one page and then I look at it and I'm like, how can I make this better on this next page? How can I literally make it sound more juicy and enticing and like, ugh, in my body from the previous page? And that is a little trick I call wordsmithing when you are projecting your dreams and dream casting in general. So when you think about that, if that is hard for you to come up to procure 5 to 10 goals that you really want to make happen, we're going to kind of reverse engineer it a little bit because we all have these really grandeur, amazing dreams that we want to make happen. And I think what happens a lot of times, or where we get tripped up, is we're not necessarily taking the first quick steps to get there. Quick steps, small steps to get there. We're just seeing the big picture. And sometimes that can almost paralyze us because we're like, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what the next step action is or what my next action item is because the goal or dream is too big. A great example of this is when we were on a call and another night doing a gratitude practice. Somebody said, I want to get stronger in 2023. And I was like, that is so broad. Like, what does that even mean? It's like you want to be as detailed with these things so that I use this example. When you go bowling, a great way to not like really corral the ball down the center and be really precise and detailed, it makes it a lot easier when you have those bumpers, right? And I want you to think about like, that is literally your energy when you get more detailed about what you want and how you say it. That's what happens to your energy. Think of like the difference between your energy being scattered. Why? Like, I want to grow stronger versus I want to be able to deadlift 265 pounds. It's such a difference, and it makes such a difference when you say that and you write that day in and day out for how you're going to achieve it. It literally puts you in a completely different energy, and it actually motivates you because you have a set goal that you're like, oh, okay, I know what to do to get there now. I have to take this goal and reverse engineer just a little bit more. Okay, maybe you're at 204. I'm using like the most wild example of deadlifting. I don't even know if this is a normal weight to deadlift. This might be really, really heavy or really, really not heavy. I don't know. So if I'm at 245 pounds deadlifting now, how can I get to 265? And then look at the difference between there and then start to create a plan. Okay, this week I'm going to do this level, and then I'm going to cross train this way. And then maybe next week I'm going to move it up a little bit. And then in 3 months to 6 months, I'm going to be able to do this because I am literally creating a reverse roadmap for myself on how to get there. Instead of this broad, random goal of like, I want to get stronger, you know exactly what you want and exactly what you need to do to get there now. And energetically, that makes all the difference. I know you're probably thinking like, what do I do if I can't even think of some goals I want to achieve? This is one of my favorite activities. It's called a brain dump. A brain dump, a free write. You are going to put pen to a paper and you're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And you are going to free write every goal, dream, accomplishment, or thing you could want to achieve in the next 5 to 10 years. That's literally my least favorite question when I've ever gone on a job interview. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? But for all intents and purposes, this is you in your life. So go big, like go big, go to the moon, like shoot the moon on this brain dump. And you might be really surprised what starts to come out and where you're like, where was that in my subconscious of what I desire? And it's really interesting when you continue to put the pen to the paper for 10 minutes. And I mean, you cannot put the pen down. You have to keep writing and stay in the flow of it. You'd be really, really surprised what comes to the surface that you're like, I didn't even know that that was in there. And again, be as detail oriented as you can. Like the more detail you can bring out when you're writing this, the better. 10 minutes, set your timer, pen to a paper. I promise you're gonna have some really big breakthroughs on this one. How did that go? I'm hoping it went swimmingly. If not, no big deal. You can do it again. Isn't that crazy? You can just do it again. But I guarantee that you've probably found a few things in there that now we can start to go back and reverse engineer into 5 to 10 of those goals that you are going to write down every single day in the past tense as though you've already achieved them. And all your energy and everything that you do is going to go into that, or into that in a way that you actually feel like you're taking actionable steps to achieve it. Okay, let's talk about some things that can sometimes derail us when it comes to our gratitude practice. The number one thing I hear about so often is consistency. People falling out of consistency, people taking a day off, people forgetting about it. I think the biggest problem, I think the biggest problem I always hear is about consistency. And it's not just in, trust me, it's not just in this gratitude practice. It's literally in a lot of things we do. But here's the thing, I think we tend to get in this mindset of it's not perfect, I didn't do it right, I didn't do it in the morning. Then we cast it aside and we save it for the next day. I always say the second you remember that you forgot to do it in the morning, just do it then. And if you don't have your trusty notebook with you or your cool, aesthetically pleasing little guy with you, then just do it on a Post-it wherever you are. It's about kind of getting your body in that way of like, okay, I did it. Okay, I did it. Okay, I did it. And then you start to build up this confidence in yourself where it's a non-negotiable day in and day out. You just know it is just something you do. It doesn't matter if you fall off, you're gonna do it. It doesn't matter if you wake up a little bit later. Okay, maybe I don't have time this morning because I snoozed my alarm to do all 10 of my goals, but I definitely have time to quickly write down 5 things I'm grateful for. So it's not necessarily about having the process perfect or it looking so perfect or it looking like anybody else's process, just as long as you have a process and it starts to work for you and you can weave it into your morning routine. I say morning routine because a lot of people have different journals and things like that. And they're like, well, I do it at night. I love that. You should additionally journal at night if that is your thing. But the way this works for heading out into your day and just completely feeling different and creating a different morning routine is you got to do it in the morning. And I know, that's a big hurdle too, is Mads, I cannot wake up 10 to 15 minutes early. And to that I say, yes, you can. And yes, it is not going to be easy the first week, the first 2 weeks, maybe the first 3 weeks you do it. But I guarantee once you get in the flow of what it's going to feel like, your body will adapt. The body is an amazing thing. It's going to adapt if you make it. And that means no snoozing, getting up the second your alarm goes off, and starting whatever that morning practice looks like. To me, I have mine down to a science. I'm like, alarm goes off, in the bathroom getting ready, grabbing the clothes that I already picked out the night before, getting my coffee ready at my house, getting my food ready at my house, sitting down to do my gratitude practice, and then wrapping up doing whatever I need to do to get out the door and get on to my day or my class or wherever I need to be. I know that sounds wild, but I want to talk about another thing that can sometimes derail this practice, and I call it energetic holes or energy seepages in your morning routine. And these create a lot of uncertainty, and that uncertainty and your brain darting around looking for answers is actually what pulls those energy away from you, and like what I call an energy hole. The best example of this, and I don't know if you do this in your own life, but if I do not pick out an outfit the night before, I will spend anywhere up to 10 minutes flipping off different shirts or sports bras or whatever I'm using for that day. If I'm going to a workout class or whether I'm going to a meeting, whatever it is, I will change like literally several times before I leave. And that creates this chaotic, uncertain energy. And that's a little bit of energy that leaves you in the morning when you could have just took the time before or like the night before and picked out your outfit. So I'm sure you've heard the saying preparation over anticipation, and that anticipation being anxiety. The better prepared you are to set yourself up for success in the morning and to like implement that morning routine, the better off you're gonna be. So maybe that looks like almost having a conveyor belt, like a chain of events in the morning where like you line everything up and you know exactly what you're gonna do, exactly what you're gonna wear, exactly where your gratitude practice is, where your food is, everything's set up perfectly. I know it sounds really wild, but it creates such a beautiful, sounded, like grounded thing in the morning. Like that's why I can't even come up with a word for it, because it's just so, it's like a safe space. It's a sacred time to wake up and just know, all right, there are no uncertainties. I know exactly what I need to do to feel my best today, and I'm going to do it. And then whatever is going to happen in this day is going to happen. And it kind of just, again, going back to that spiritual armor, putting it on, you're going to feel a lot different walking out into your day, not like dripping with energetic holes or giving that away. You're just going to feel really, truly like the best version of yourself showing up. I almost forgot one of the most important things. When you snooze your alarm, do not grab your phone. No phone. No phone before you do your gratitude practice, okay? That is so major and so key. And in fact, however long you can prolong not looking at your phone or your emails or TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is, again, more energetic holes in the morning that can take you or like sway you from your center or groundedness before you walk out the door, the better. So honestly, the longer you can go without your phone, the better. If it is the first thing you are grabbing when you wake up, or the first thing you are or the last thing you are doing before you go to bed, you're gonna feel a lot differently. So I like to implement that no phone until at least after the gratitude practice. If you can prolong it, great. If not, I totally get it. We all have different jobs and different, we all have different jobs and different, why can I not say this word? Commitments. We all have different jobs and different commitments. So I totally get it, but at least hold off until after your gratitude practice. And then bonus tip, if you can put your phone to bed like an hour to 2 hours before you go to sleep, you are gonna feel so much different in the morning. So speaking of the people that are like, oh my God, it's impossible for me to wake up 10 to 15 minutes early, I bet if you did a little bit of self-reflection, you would realize that maybe there's energetic holes in your evening practice where you might be scrolling much later than you should be, instead of figuring out a wind down routine that will make you get a great night's sleep to put you in a place where you don't feel so crappy when you have to wake up 10 to 15 minutes earlier in the morning. Let me know if this makes sense. I feel like that's a lot of info in not that much time, but you can always go back and rewatch this. And if you have questions, you can find me on Instagram at MadsTads, MaddZTaddz. I give so many tips, tricks, and tactical takeaways there, not only on gratitude practice, but a lot of other mental toughness, mindset type tips, lots of inspiration. And if you're looking for extra inspo, I also have a podcast called Wicked Fearless, which is available literally wherever podcasts are available. So if that is it for the day, I am going to send you on your way to create a new morning routine for yourself. Fingers are crossed on my end, but I know in my heart of hearts, just like it changed my life, it is absolutely going to change your life for the better. 10 times out of 10, I think this is something I can say wholeheartedly with 100% certainty. It's going to change your life. If you enjoyed this video, amazing. Do you know that there's so many other places to consume my free content, including Instagram at MadsTads, MaddZTaddz. I post all about gratitude practices, inspiration, mental toughness, mindset tips, and of course, I ride a bike sometimes, so there's a lot of cycling on there too. You can also listen to my podcast called Wicked Fearless, all about inspiration, motivation, going through storytelling, great guests on, talking about how they did it, how they created the life that they crave for themselves. So those are the ways you can get in touch with me. Lots of free content out there. And yeah, make sure you message me. I love to hear from everybody, super interactive. And hopefully I'll see you back on here or one of my other platforms soon.